So are there any relationships that you're aware of where you actually practice anger as a basic principle? Anyone? No? No. No, that's past. That's past. In fact, it is always past, right? That is always past. So, see, this is, I think, very healthy to laugh about it because it's literally like impossible. It seems like impossible to be in relationships or to have to deal with people and not become angry. That's impossible. It's amazing, isn't it? So maybe the first day it's okay, and maybe after 3 days still okay, but then something happens. So that principle is so ingrained in the human thinking, and that's not an excuse to alleviate yourself from it or to let it be healed and whole, but it is something you can easily recognize. So I'm happy that you recognize that. That's really great. That's one step further. So and you recognize too that when you have moments that you are experiencing, say, openness and wholeness or communication, that the so-called special relationship are of no importance whatsoever. Do you recognize that too? Yeah? Okay, good.
So my question is when you recognize that you're dealing with the anger, and what I get caught up is in the guilt that I got angry.
Well, that's part of the deal, right? So it's like you don't become angry for nothing. No, you become angry at least to or project guilt or feel it yourself. So that's a side effect of it. So it's actually that was the yeah, I call it the glue. It's like the glue of the relationship is then anger and guilt. So that's the what keeps it together. It's like that's the moving force behind it. So as long as you keep doing that, then you're in a relationship in the human way of thinking. And in the meantime, the quiet peace, like the ceasefire period, is then what you call peace. It's the same as between countries. It's like that's the moment where you cease fire. So that's like, okay, yeah, now we can exchange stuff again and until the next attack. Like, well, that doesn't have anything to do with peace then. If it's conditional, it's temporal. So very interesting. So you can imagine that it keeps you away from experiencing pure communication because it's complete disturbance. Like it's a total denial, in fact, of the possibility that you have to be in perfect communication. So in fact, you say like, okay, I'm using my own way of looking at relationships, my own way of dealing with people. In fact, I do this and try to do my best. I really do my best to do this and forgive as much as I can, while you actually say active on an say in a realm where you cannot do that or not find that. So that is the only problem. It's like that it would be the same idea as the idea of sin. It's like, what is sin then? Well, sin is operating in a time-space continuum. Not, yeah, operating good, bad, yeah, dualistic, but still it's temporal, it's uh, like inescapable when you deal in a time space continuum. It's inescapable. So the only way to be out of that is not to be in time and space then. You could say, keep your mind right there. So that then, but then already you have to already be in communication, otherwise you cannot do it. So another way of saying that is then it's like you make one thing real here, one situation real here, as if there's a real something has happened between of you and someone else, you make anything real here. And in fact, you're locked into a time-space continuum where you can actually not find what you're looking for, of what is naturally yours. So that's why this is so radical in a sense, like it's controversial. It is. There's no in-between zone. Yeah, go ahead. Just jump in. Just share whatever you feel like. It's perfectly all right.
So when you were um, in a state of feeling whole-minded or at one, what comes over is a sense of not being relatable to people that are not seeming on the same page or thinking the same way.
Yeah, so this is interesting what you say. Yeah, because you're actually, when you communicate, you're actually aware of the fact that there's only one of us. That's when you communicate. So there cannot be an opposing something. There cannot be an opposing force. Like you recognize it all to be you. And that is different. It's like it's not a trick that you do with your mind or something. No, it's like when you enter into perfect communication, you recognize that all is one and that there cannot be an opposing force.
So that is what the Course is referring to. Jesus, it says you can't have two masters. There's no compromise. If
Right.
you keep walking back and forth, you're going to have that insanity.
Yeah, yeah. So what does your ego mind do? Like what does your personality mind do? It tries to make a deal. Like a little bit of both. A little bit of heaven and yeah. So like this one impossibility it's looking for and doesn't really want to find it, but at least it's looking for it. I really try to forgive it as much as I can. I really cannot forgive it any more than I already have done. You know, it's like the dramatic attitude of, in fact, an mortal holic. It's like you're addicted to death. That's why you say these things. The same as, yeah, I really couldn't take my hands off that drink. I had to pick up that glass. It was so close to me, I had to get it. Yeah, that's the same story. You're drinking then. So it's the same with the mortalholic, like somebody who, say, confirms the idea of an realm where you can die, where you are born in, and where you can die. That is temporal. Is in fact what a mortalholic is. Like you first have to admit you are one, otherwise you don't even know you are one. But then also, it's like your investment in what you value, you will not let go of it when you still value it. So if you really have a belief in death and temporalness as if that's going to be your salvation, then yeah, you will not find it. So to let this come to you and start to see that giving that up is no sacrifice whatsoever, but it is truly your salvation to do the will of God, like to see that that's the only will there is, then it can dissolve. So that's a huge shift. That's why this is so, yeah, it's all or nothing. Like you're either in sin or you're not. You're either in a guilt trip, whether with a ceasefire or who knows what, or you're out of it. You know, this lesson too is like one of the instructions was, if guilt is hell, what is its opposite? That's the question. Like, is this question answered? No, the question is answered in you. You have to ask that question. If guilt is hell, what is its opposite? I have to know. Well, you cannot find it here. You cannot find it in temporalness and specialness. So yeah, That's the practice. But like I said, so more and more it becomes clear why it's like special relationships and relationships in general are like a perfect way to train, in fact. Like literally because your investment is in there. Remember this, that you put all your value in it in order to survive, to reproduce, for your own continuation. You placed all your value in a two bodies being together, reproducing itself in order to keep existing. Like that is a humongous investment. That is in every cell of your body. Your whole body functions like that. It seems to be made for it, only based on an idea. So that's pretty wild, isn't it? And we have lived it. We have given birth to children. We have done this. We have done that. All with an idea that that is our survival, as if there's something there that needs to be continued because it's very temporal. It lasts only, yeah, if you're lucky, between 20 and 100 years. Then it's over. So you gotta make, before you're 40, you need to reproduce, otherwise it might not work anymore. That's the way that we think as human beings. That's what has kept us going and made sacrifices just for the idea, like coming deeply from our reflexes in order to survive. Well, that was not necessary at all. There was no need for reproduction. I should have known. It saves so much energy and hassle. Why don't they learn this at school? So it's like, oh, the hopeless human species, hopeless. Oh my God, hopeless. Oh, yeah, so how you, Jesus said, like, okay, how are we going to tell this to them? How are we going to tell them this message? Like, oh my, do you really want to do this? Well, I'm not sure. Let's try. I'll go to Earth first and see what happens. Oh no, I'm resurrecting. I'm out of here. Phew. I'll do this from a distance here, like I do this from out of time. Wow, this might take a moment. It's a long-term project. Well, turn on the news and see what is going on right now. Turn on the news and see how these ideas of reproduction and you name it, all this stuff that's going on, how that is still so valued. You're not gonna let go of that for the next 10,000 years, are you? Yeah. So this is a great chapter. And if you can laugh about this, look at how lucky you are. You know, that's uh, that's why I say this continuously, but it's so hard to express it. It's like, see what gift is given. This is not just words and concepts. This is, look at what's going on. It is humongous. It's so big, so beautiful. Thank you for everything. And yeah, all right. Bye for now. See you later. Bye.